link on the description below. All right, so that was channel sponsor, and without further ado, let's talk with our guest. We have a very special guest today. His name is Maxim Shapiro. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being a guest. So I guess my first question would be, what is toxic masculinity? Am I a toxic man?
Well, I hope not. Probably not. Uh,
Thank you.
if you know enough to ask the question, you're probably not one. What is toxic masculinity? Well, to some extent, toxic masculinity is a term that's been made up that I think a lot of people who use it probably don't even know what it means. It's just become a popular term to uh, to put down men. But if you had to come up with a definition, I would just say it's masculinity without purpose. Like men just trying to boss people around or control other people because they think that's what they're supposed to do, when actually they have no idea what they're supposed to do or why they're on this earth, or who they are as people or as men. So I would give it that definition.
Okay, so if that's the definition of toxic masculinity, I can only imagine there's also femininity without purpose, right? The yin
Oh,
yang.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you never hear the term toxic femininity, but there's absolutely toxic femininity. And again, like I was saying earlier, I mean, there are people who to whom any masculinity is toxic,
Oh.
unfortunately, and I think that's one of the things that we want to change. But yeah, I mean, there's toxic femininity. Yeah, absolutely. You know, yeah.
Where do you so the term that is mostly used is toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Where does that come from then?
I think really it comes from pe- people being angry, probably mostly women, uh, looking at history, looking at abuses that men have visited on women and being angry about it. I think something that's kind of interesting and ironic is, and I'm not saying that men don't abuse women today, or vice versa. It happens both ways, but women today have a much better life, certainly in the United States, than any women who have come before. But the women today, I think, are angrier than any women ever before, uh, and they have, in some way, well, in in some ways, they have less reason to be because they're treated better. Like a woman today is treated better. Well, it's, in some ways, has a lot more rights, certainly a lot more freedom, than her mother did, or her grandmother, or great grandmother, or whatever. But the women today are probably angrier than any women who have come before them, and I think that's because the men who are around today, and again, certainly in the United States, in certain ways, are not doing as good a job as our fathers or our grandfathers or great grandfathers. So I think the further back you go generationally, the more masculine, on average, those men were, and that did come with a lot of toxicity, but it came with the masculinity also. So there, there, there are good and bad aspects to masculinity, but the healthy aspects of masculinity are leadership, safety, community, foundation, peace. Right? There are a lot of good things that come along with masculinity when it's used well. And I think there was just more masculinity in general in previous generations, both good and bad. But there was more good. There was probably more bad, but there was also more good. And so there was more, maybe, order in society. There was more discipline. And so I think in some ways, women felt safer in those societies, even though they had fewer rights or less freedom. And I think, ironically, women today, again, certainly in the United States, probably, I mean, they certainly have a lot more rights and freedom than they ever did before, but there's also a lot less leadership and strength coming from men in our society. And so that probably in some ways makes women feel less safe. And that's in part why they're angry.
Okay, so let me see if I got that straight. In the past, there was more masculinity in general, which
Yes.
which made women in general feel more safe.
Yes,
Okay.
in certain ways. And again, there was a lot more brutality in society in previous generations also, and a lot of that was coming from men. So there certainly are ways in which women felt unsafe. There were both sides, but there were certainly ways in which society had, I think, more structure, more of a backbone, and so there were certain ways in which women felt safer in previous generations.
Would you say that this has anything to do with the more traditional family structure that existed way more abundant in the past compared to today?
Probably, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. There was more structure in general. There were fewer options and more structure. And I'm not saying, and I'm definitely not saying that